Hello everyone, I'm back with another streaming review for you, and today I'm going to be taking a look at Marvel Animation's X-Men 97 on Disney Plus. Yes, the long-awaited continuation of the original series on Fox Kids that ran from 92 to 97. This new show here, it is created by Beau DeMayo, and it's of course based on Chris Claremont's work and Stan Lee's writing, of course, since he created the characters originally. It is now considered the greatest thing Marvel has put out since Avengers Endgame. Ooh, that's a bold statement going around right now. But hey, it mostly lives up to that hype. I mean, especially early on, the first batch of episodes they're pretty much pure perfection in my view. But I will get into it, but I will be also spoiling it. So spoilers, spoiler alert. Of course, I will be spoiling chunks of this season. I can't talk about everything, right? It's going to be a very general review. I won't cover every single episode. I won't get into all the detail and make it like an hour-long review. That's crazy. 10 episodes is a lot, to cover in one video. So I will just go over it and talk about it, generally, mainly about the big beats and the big reveals, and of course that ending. Oh my goodness, and the post-credits as well. So, all right, so. It is a very long anticipated revival of the original X-Men show that we all watched growing up, whether that was Saturday mornings or if they had it after school or whatever the case was. But back in the mid 90s, this show was excellent. It was really the best cartoon that Marvel was putting out there, trying to compete with Batman the animated series, and it's honestly, it was almost as good. And I consider the Batman show to be the greatest of all time, but X-Men may be number two. It really is. It was so great. Even if the animation changed by the fifth season, that's okay. But if you're an X-Men fan, you know how that original series ended, and what happened at the end with Professor X leaving and everything like that. But nowadays, of course, here in 2024, it's really going to be a question of, what are they going to do with replacing certain actors? That's going to be very, very good question, since some of these actors have passed away or no longer available, whatever the case may be. But they also did keep many of the actors from the original show, so we do get some returning. And we also get some actors who did previous characters returning in new roles as well. So, I mean, it really is awesome to hear Cal Dodd, Wolverine, Lenore Zan, Rogue, George Beast Booza, and Allison Seeley Smith, Storm, and also Christopher Britton as Mr. Sinister. So these five, they all reprised their roles from the original 90s. They still sound as awesome as ever. There's no rust on this Wolverine's claws. And while I really, really love the design and also the animation, I mean, sometimes it does border on anime in certain sequences, but still, I like the music, the sound effects, it's all good, but it's really the acting that really brings this show to life. And a lot of the newer actors to the series, like Ross Marquand, who's playing the returning Professor Charles Xavier, and Ray Chase as Cyclops, and Jennifer Hale, she's Jean Grey, as well as Jean Grey number two. We'll get into that. Madeline Pryor, so she's kind of in a dual role with the same voice. But they all shine here. These actors, they're so great, very convincing, very intense. The voice direction is just dead on here. I really do like a lot of the new voices for the characters, and I love the fact that they brought back several actors, again, voicing several characters here. It's amazing to me, so fascinating that they were able to get gigs for actors that provided the original voices for some of these main cast of characters here. So Chris Potter, for example, the original Gambit, he's now Cable. Catherine Disher, the original Jean Grey, she's now Valerie Cooper. Ron Rubin, the original Morph, he's now President Kelly. Lawrence Bain, who was the original Cable, is now the Executioner, is this mutant hater early on in the season, and it's great to see other characters there too, like Morph, and you see Bishop and Forge coming back, and then we get Roberto Sunspot, from the New Mutants as well. So just a ton of great fan service going on here. Okay, it's safe to say the acting is my favorite part here, but to see such classic storylines adapted to animation like Inferno, although, I mean, it was a bit truncated into one episode, sure, but it was still great to see that storyline of, the clone of Jean Grey, Madeline Pryor, and the birth of little baby Nathan, little Cable, and Mr. Sinister being behind all that. And then Life Death as well. Life Death was really cool about Storm losing her powers and Forge and the adversary, and it's just, oh wow, like they're doing all this crazy stuff that comic book fanboys like me really, really appreciated. So a lot of it was an X-Men fan's dream come true, there were also many, many guest appearances from these famous Marvel characters here as well. I found myself yelling their names at the screen, going, Spider-Man, Captain America, oh, Baron Zemo, Doctor Doom, oh, Daredevil, oh my God, Cloak and Dagger. Just went on and on. Like I was like, oh wow, like this is for Marvel fans, folks. This is for comic book fans, and even more so than live action Marvel fans. Honestly, it seems like it's more aimed at the comic fans, and boy, do I appreciate that. So yeah, it's excellent. I mean, okay, so the story though is a bit complex. It's a tad convoluted at times, you might say. I mean, there's really too much going on at times. It is impressive though how the characters are balanced out. I gotta say, Wolverine kind of takes a back seat here a little bit to Cyclops and Jean's problems. And the whole Genosha thing, and then we got Rogue, and so on. There's a lot going on. So I'll just get into that briefly here, since everyone already knows. But of course, after Jean and Scott have a child, it's actually revealed that Jean is actually a clone of the real Jean Grey, who shows up to the mansion's door there, kind of like the whole Psylocke, Quanon body swap story from the comics. Comic book fans know what I'm talking about. But, okay, so yeah, lots going on there. So we get the Goblin Queen, we get Inferno, we get Mr. Sinister. And like I said, it's all kind of wrapped up in one episode, really. And it makes way for more storylines going on involving Magneto. He's kind of on trial, and he's, Storm gets hit with this thing that takes away her powers, and then she has to go try and get her powers back. She basically quits the X-Men, and then they cut her off of the intro. They cut her right out of the intro as well, which is very interesting. They do that when characters kind of step back, from the series, so that's very cool. Anyway, Magneto, I mean, he's ticked off. What else is new, right? He's done with humanity, all these mutie haters and everything. Meanwhile, Professor X is in the hands of the Shi'ar Empire, his girlfriend in space, And so he is alive, and Empress Lilandra, his girlfriend, she's helping him recover, and now he's able to stand and just, walk around pretty normally, even though Earth, considers him dead. He would return to Earth and to his X-Men after much tragedy. Of course, Magneto, Rogue, and Gambit, as you all know, they have a love triangle. But after Gambit shockingly dies, saving many lives in Genosha, Rogue realizes that she really loved Remy. She really loved the little swamp rat, Gambit. So she winds up going after Trask in this rage, because he's responsible for the Sentinels and the attack, or so she believes. She tries to kill him, but it is revealed that he is a Sentinel /human hybrid controlled by this guy Bastion. Bastion is the ultimate Sentinel, like human, the ultimate undercover Sentinel, basically. So yeah, interesting. And Bastion is your main antagonist here, working with Mr. Sinister. Magneto, after escaping Bastion's capture with the help of Valerie Cooper, he declares war by blackening out the entire world, and he winds up killing several people in the process. Wolverine, the absolute worst X-Man to take on Magneto, right? And due to his metal adamantium bones, I mean, Magneto just has a field day with Wolverine. Magneto attempts to rip the metal from Wolverine, and he's howling in pain, and it's just oh man, it was pretty crazy. Same kind of thing does happen in the comics, and Wolverine, he's sidelined for basically the rest of the season. Morph is there to take care of him. Now, Xavier has to try and stop Magneto by going inside his mind, and that's a whole, battle of minds going on there. Cable does appear, trying to fix everything, but also Bishop winds up disappearing from the show as well until the end of episode 10. Storm, as I mentioned, she loses her powers, but she gets them back with the help of Forge. And her mohawk hairdo went back to its original kind of state of full flow. I don't know. How did that happen? Was it weather witch magic? I guess. I don't know. Just the discovery of her powers coming back. She also has the power to grow hair. So hey, bold men everywhere are jealous. She should give Charles some help there. Anyway, in episode 10, what happens here is the Phoenix Force. It possesses Jean once again. After Cable is in trouble, and so she comes to the aid of Cable, Storm, and Beast, and the others. A lot of X-Men are captured by Bastion, but the Phoenix Force takes care of business. She also takes care of Mr. Sinister, and she reveals his true form and everything, and he runs off scared like a little girl. And she tries to stop Bastion, but he's too powerful now, and it's really up to the X-Men who wind up donning different costumes, some 70s gear showing off there. It's up to them to take Bastion down. So after Charles takes control of Magneto and he restores power to Earth, the X-Men wind up crashing Asteroid M into Earth, and it causes this extinction event. It causes this thing. I looked it up online, and it says extinction event, and I went, okay, it's some kind of a crazy flux in time, some kind of a time kind of folding in on itself or something. This is kind of like implosion, let's call it that. But this is after the U.S. government launches missiles at it, thinking Magneto was trying to, destroy the Earth and everything, of course. But Xavier took care of that. Bastion winds up escaping, and Magneto regains consciousness and sends the asteroid off into space, and it explodes with most of the X-Men on it, and they're all presumed dead. Now, 6 months later, Bishop arrives and tells Forge that the X-Men are, they're findable. He's like, let's go get those X-Men. They're trapped somewhere in time, apparently. Cyclops and Jean are in the future, which is this kind of a post-apocalyptic, wasteland future where they encounter a young Nathan, a young Cable, Rogue, Nightcrawler, Beast, Xavier, and Magneto. They all wind up in the past instead of the future. They wind up in 3000 BC, where they wind up meeting this character who's a younger version of Apocalypse. And that's where the show ends, on a to be continued. And also, in a mid-credit scene, Apocalypse finds one of Gambit's playing cards. This is in the present day, on Genosha, and in the aftermath of all the mutant deaths in Genosha. Apocalypse finds a card that Gambit left behind, possible foreshadowing that he's going to resurrect Gambit as the new Death. Like Archangel was Death for a while, and now it's Gambit's turn, I guess. But I believe the same type of thing happened in the comics, so yeah, that may just be the case. All right, and now in terms of criticizing the show at all, I mean, obviously I love it. It's a great show. I'm a big fanboy anyway, but in terms of critiques, there's some things that bothered me. There was okay, well, did we really need the Phoenix to come back? This was the only way to get rid of Sinister, I guess. Well, okay, I mean, and, she was only there. She was there because some fans wanted to see it, but, I mean, just to have her show up just to take care of Mr. Sinister and then disappear, when the Bastion threat is still a threat, I guess the Phoenix Force thought she got Bastion, but Bastion is still too powerful, he's still alive. It all seemed too convenient for me. Little tiny things like, how can Jubilee breathe in space? There's a scene where she gets knocked into space, and Roberto, Sunspot, he saves her, but it's like, does he have some kind of a thing about him that can he breathe in space? Can he like extend that to her? I guess so. I don't know. Was Jean doing it, but we just didn't know? I don't know. I have no idea. I have no idea. But those are little tiny little things. Some things like that, they don't really work logically, even in the fantastical world of Marvel, entertainment. So yeah, I mean, I just thought that. And well, I mean, the cliffhanger ending I thought was fine. It leaves you salivating for the next season, right? But it may not please some. It does assume, they're getting another season. It's always interesting when they make that, like, well, there's going to be another season. Oh, okay, like if there isn't, boy, that's disappointing. So yeah, they're not going to disappoint fans. They're gonna make another season of this, I'm sure. How could they not, right? I mean, it's such excellent fan service. It mostly works, for the most part. There are some shocking deaths here, and then but then again, nobody in Marvel really stays dead, right? Except for Spider-Man's Uncle Ben, right? Right. So in conclusion, as a fan of the comics, it's it's a bit of a truncated adaptation story-wise of many classic comics from the 80s or even 70s, but they do pack a lot into one season. It's like an overstuffed pizza pop. A few lapses in logic here and there, in terms of realism. I mean, you can't be too critical. It's an X-Men movie. It's about mutants, and those are just minor misgivings, for a very, very entertaining show. It's really the cool characters and how they interact with each other, the relationships and how these actors bring it all to life. That's what makes it really, really work for me. So I'm going to give X-Men 97, the whole darn season, episode 1 to 10, a 9 out of 10. Yes, it's that damn good, folks. Go check it out. And thank you so much for tuning in to this review. Until next time, peace.